Hello, welcome back to the Motorcycle Fixer channel. Today we're looking at the bike that we've been fixing in the last two videos, the Stomp 140. We've got the bike running and starting. When it starts up it's really smoky and then it keeps smoking, which means one or two things. It can either be the piston rings are bypassing oil, or one of the stem seals is bypassing oil. So I'll show you the smoking, and then we're going to investigate what's wrong with it and put it right. So this is the bike starting, so you will see how much smoke is coming out of it. As you can see, there's a lot of smoke. It does go away once you've been riding it. There's only a little bit of white smoke in, but that white smoke is the burning in the oil that have collected in the cylinder. So we need to take the head off, take the barrel off, check the piston, and we'll replace the stem seals as well while we're at it. So need to make that better. We need to find out now how all that oil is getting into the cylinder. So we're going to have to take the head and the barrel off. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this bash plate off the bottom. So there's a bolt either side. We're going to keep all our bolts together in a container. That's one. That's a bolt either side. And there's two bolts underneath there that are bigger. 12. Two 12mm bolts underneath. The next thing I'm going to take off is this carb. Take this pipe off. There's going to be a little bit of petrol in there. And screw the top. And pull out the slide and the needle. Just be careful with that needle, just make sure you don't bend it. There we are, that's better. There we are, so we can leave that. Press that there. We're going to undo these two nuts now that hold the manifold to the head. And take it all off complete. There's less bits then to put back together, so we can just take it off in one big lump. So there we go, we can remove the carb and the manifold together. Back round the other side now, we're going to remove this spark plug cap from there, and then we're going to take off these oil cooler lines. That's a 12mm socket as well. So there's a copper washer either side of the banjo fitting, so just make sure that you get both of them. See, there's one, so there's two copper washers, so you need to make sure you don't lose those. So you put them back on the bolt and screw the bolt back in a little bit. Same with this one, there's two copper washers, one stuck on the bolt there, and the other one. So I'm just going to put those back in a minute, just so we don't lose the copper washers. So that's them. Now we can take these head nuts off. So what size are they? They got a 10mm, I believe. 10mm, yeah. There's a nut and a washer on all of these, so make sure you keep them safe. We'll take these nuts off this side, and then we're going to go the other side then to take the cam chain off. So I go around. There we go, 4 nuts, 4 washers in there, and then we need to take this bolt out here that goes through to the other side to the cam sprocket cover. So this bolt goes all the way through the head, holds the cam sprocket cover on. So I normally do undo it most of the way, and then if you give it a tap, it breaks the cam cover plate off the other side then. There we are. Take that bolt out. So like I say, see, it's a long bolt, and then off on the other side then, there's your cam cover, cam sprocket cover. So we keep those two together. Make sure we give it a wipe down. Make sure there's no loose mud or debris or anything that's going to go into our engine. Okay, so I'm going to pull that through to there. This side now we've got another head bolt here that we need to take out. There. Okay, so now we need to undo these. These ones are a 9mm socket, so you can try and shock them to get them off. Which doesn't always work. Or then you can get your impactor. You can take them off like that. You can, if you what you can do if you haven't got an impact torque gun, if you take the flywheel cover off, you can hold the flywheel and do it that way. So it's not too bad that way. So you can do it without the gun, because I know they are expensive. Right, next we want to take this bolt out, which is in 10mm, I believe. This is the cam chain guide. This one has a sealing aluminium washer on it, because there's oil running on the chain, obviously oil in the chain, so that gasket stops the oil from coming out. So now we're going to take out the cam chain tensioner, which is this bolt here underneath your stator plate, and this bolt you are going to lose oil, so I've got the oil bolt underneath. You need to take this out, and then there's a spring on the inside of this that tensions the cam chain. We need to take it out so that we can to get this and put it back on. It needs to be out so that we can get it back on and time it up properly anyway. So this one is this cam chain tensioner bolt is a 14mm socket, and is very tight. Oh, and as I said, it's on a spring, so the spring and the tensioner has fallen into the oil. But see, there's the spring. You can see that. That's our sealing washer for the bottom, which we need. There's the plunger. So it goes in this way. Can you see it? It goes in this way, and that rubber bit on the top sits against the arm that tensions the spring, tensions the cam chain, sorry. So this spring goes into the bottom like that, and then the bolt goes up underneath. So when we put it back in, the rod with the rubber at the top goes in first, then the spring goes in behind it, and then you put the bolt in the bottom. So there we are. Well, we need to clean all that up anyway before it all goes back in. So now that we have the cam chain tensioner out of the way, we should be able to just move this cam sprocket and the chain out of the way, and then the head should just wiggle off. Like so. There we go. And you can see inside the actual head itself, it is very oily, full of oil. And that's inside the cylinder. Obviously there shouldn't be that much oil inside the cylinder, so we need to find out where it's coming from. Make sure everything's clean as you're going along, obviously. To take our cam sprocket off, put that to the side as well, keep that safe. And to take the barrel off, there's just another screw there, so I think we'll take the barrel off now and just see what kind of condition the rings are in. There we are, that's that bolt. And now we should be able to pull the barrel off with a bit of persuasion. There we are. Here it comes. So this is our cam chain guide. We're going to take that up, put it to the side so we don't get rid of that. And then there is our piston. To be honest, the piston and the piston rings, oh yeah, yes, you can see, yeah, I'll show you that now. If you can tell how when a piston ring is very worn, this was very worn, but if you feel the edges, they're very sharp. If they're worn down, you can feel a burr and very sharp edges on them. And these ones have got very sharp edges. And obviously they're very thin as well. Yeah, so it looks as if these piston rings are the problem. It looks as if they're worn right down. So back now on our Stomp 140. It's been like a week for me waiting for the parts to come in, etc. But seconds for you, I know. So we need to remove the head. It needs to come off past the mud guard, so that's that. Then I'm going to make sure that the piston is at top dead center, very close to it anyway, which is about there. When you remove the barrel, there's a seal there. Make sure you don't lose it. The seal kits don't come with that seal in it, and it goes in there. If you forget or if you lose it and you don't put it in, then you will have an oil leak. So you need to take care of that. O-ring, quad ring, square ring, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a clean around where it sits. Make sure nothing drops, no debris drops into where we're going to rebuild it. Dandelions. Right, now we're going to take our piston out. So to get our piston out, we are going to remove the little gudgeon pin clip. These do like to fly, so there's a new one in the kit, but that's our gudgeon pin clip. Put that down there. Now we're going to push out the gudgeon pin, and we're going to remove our piston. There we are, easy as that. It is somewhere on the piston itself. There's no marks in the bore though, but the rings are very sharp, so there's some burn past on that, down past the top ring there, all around here, so the rings are very sharp. So we'll replace the whole thing now. Just make sure everything's clean before you put it back together. Okay, so this is our new piston kit. Comes with a piston, the pin, the rings, everything you need. Before we actually put it in, we're just going to compare the pistons, make sure that it is the correct one before we fit it. Just to make sure. I have had them before. I fitted it, put the barrel on, and then it was the wrong one, so I had to take it all back apart. So just check it's the right one before you fit it. Okay. So we're going to put one of the new piston gudgeon pin clips. We're going to put one of those in. Which side do we want it? So if we put it in this side, then we can push. If we put it in that back side, the back side, which is over there, then we can push the pin through from this side and make it easier. So these are very fiddly, and they do like to fly away. So just feed it in. Sometimes you can do them, you luck out and you just put it in by hand, but and then sometimes they really want to fight you. I'm holding the bottom bit in with my finger. Perhaps if I turn around a little bit. There we are. Hold the bottom bit in with my finger and then push in with a screwdriver. Perhaps try and not stab myself, as always. So we're going to try it with our pliers now. Got small nose pliers, so I'm trying to do it on camera as well, which don't make it any easier. Then we're going to just grab the end and spring it away. We're getting it now. Patience is the key to this. So There we are, it's nearly in, and there she is. Okay, I don't know if you can see how well you can see that, but it just needs tucking in there, and that's in all the way in the groove all the way around. So there we are. Now we're going to fit our piston rings, or oil ring first. The corrugated ring goes in the middle. We're going to put that on first. Make sure that at the end it doesn't overlap each other and like cause a double over. Then we take our first oil ring and put that in on the one side of the corrugated one. If there's any doubt, you can always have a look at the one that came out. Okay, so you look at that one and then you see which way, how they go. But the one ring sits on the one side of that corrugated ring, and the other ring. Now see, you can see there that that corrugated ring inside is sat up. There we are. We just pushed it back down. It sometimes it sits on itself when it goes all the way around. So that's okay there. So then we're going to get our second oil ring. Now these oil rings can go up either way. There's no markings on them or anything. The actual piston rings, the compression piston rings, do have markings on them, but we'll show you that now. So the second ring then, I'm going to just put the second one on at the top, if I can get it in there like that. Okay, then fold it around like that. There we are. So that's our oil rings fitted. The ends of the oil rings should be, of each ring, should be at least 90 degrees out. So the end of the one ring is here, so then the other one should be at least 90 degrees to the end of the other one. You can move them around independently. Okay, so if there's a straight line between the rings, then the oil can go blow by this way and the compression can blow by this way, so you alternate the rings at least 90 degrees. These now are our compression rings. Usually the squarer one of the two on the edge of the squarer one of the two on the edge of it usually goes on the bottom compression ring, with the writing on it facing upwards, and then this one is more round on the edge, again with the writing up, so they go like this on the piston. So the square edge one goes on the bottom. So are we going to rotate that ring around the piston like so. That one's on, and then again with the writing up on the top one, with the gap between the rings at least 90 degrees out. So again we're gonna just rotate the piston ring around, push it in. There we are. Okay, so there's writing on the end of the piston, in, which just says in on this one, it doesn't say out. Sometimes there's an arrow. The arrows always points to the exhaust. So if there's an arrow, the arrow points to the outlet, which is the exhaust. If, like this one, it says in, that's the inlet port. On these bikes the inlet port is at the top. So this piston's ready to go in, so we're going to find our new gudgeon pin. Where have we put it? Okay, so there's our new gudgeon pin. We are going to just give it a coating of oil before we push it in. What we're also going to do is we're going to oil up where the pin sits in the piston, and we're going to oil up the piston itself. just want to make sure that this has a good coating of oil. You don't want it to, you might not start the bike for a week or so maybe, and then it'll be dry, stuck to the cylinder wall if you don't oil anything. So right, so there we are. We have our in pointing up towards the inlet port. We're going to slide the piston on, then we're going to push our oiled pin through and through our con rod in like that. Okay, that's the piston fitted. So the next task is to get the gudgeon pin clip on this side, which can be a bit more difficult because you can't move the piston around, and what I would advise for this is to move the container of oil you've got sitting underneath the engine and move that out of the way, because if you don't, you can guarantee that that little clip will end up in it. So to do this, it's the same as when, perhaps if I can move the camera for you. Just put it there. Oh. So we have to get this little clip in. So I'm just going to hold the bottom in and push with the nose of the pliers. I know you can't see a lot, I'm sorry, but ow! Try not to stab yourself as well. Okay, let's try a different thing. They are very fiddly. Some bikes have like a circlip type on it. There we are, that would have dropped in the oil. Some bikes have like a circlip type on it and they are much better. Much easier to get in than these ones, but okay. Work with what you've got. So there we are, let's try and push that down now into the groove. Come on, there we are, there she is. Okay, so then we're just going to push that in, make sure it's in the groove all the way around. You don't want that coming out when your piston's going up and down really fast. Engine won't like it. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that's in the groove all the way around. Yeah, there we are. So that's our piston fitted. Perfect. Now we have to take our barrel and we have to take this old, so you can see, can I show you? See if I move it away perhaps. Inside the barrel there's no marks, no marks in there, nothing, no scrapes. So it's okay to go back in. You need to get this old gasket off and make sure that that gasket face is clean. So we're going to have to scrape off all this. Right, what we'll do now is those two oil guides, these two, we're going to take them out of the head, barrel, sorry. We're going to take them out, if we can get them out, because it'll make it easier to clean the actual gasket face, but it doesn't look like that one wants to come out. No, okay, so we'll have to leave that one in. The one we got out of the bottom now, we're going to actually put back into the engine so we don't lose it. So there we are, it goes down there, it slots in to that there. Make sure it's all the way in. Yep, there we are. Okay, so we need to clean this face up now. Make sure there's no remnants of gasket on there at all. I just like to get, I've got these razor blade type scrapers, so I just like to gently go around with this. You have to make sure that you don't, because this is steel blade, just have to make sure that you don't damage the actual gasket face, because if you don't keep it flat you will dig into the aluminium. So you just want to gently clean it all of the old remnants off. Just gently. As you can see, we're going to just go all the way around, make sure that we get all of this old one off. As you can see, that's nice. Now there's some staining on it, but you're not going to get rid of the staining. You just have to make sure it's clean, no debris on it. Keep wiping it, wipe your hands, wipe the blade. And there we have it, nice and clean, ready for the new gasket. So that's ready to go on. Right, we're going to put this other oil weight that we took out of the barrel, we're going to put that in to where it needs to go, because that will also help us line up the base gasket. So like we did with that barrel, we're going to make sure that the surface, gasket surface, is clean, which it is. Going to get our new base gasket, and then it is, goes on that way round. The big hole is where that rubber seal sits, and then this hole, there is an oil way underneath there. So we're going to slide on our base gasket. Sometimes these engine studs can be a bit out of shape, so just be careful that you don't damage the base gasket. Make sure you pull the chain through it like that, like like that. Okay. Okay, like that. Right. Need to take the head gasket off this also. So off that comes. Make sure that this top gasket face again is nice and clean. We've got two dowels, hollow dowels that are in there. Make sure they're all nice and clean on there. Again, if there's any residue on it, just give it a clean. Nothing too abrasive or anything, just scrape any lumps or bumps off. That seems pretty good actually. So there we are. Make sure the actual board itself is nice and clean. Make sure there's no gouges in it, scrapes in it, scratches, because that will bypass the oil. So make sure that there's no scrapes or scratches or gouges. There we are, that's okay. We got Also now going to oil the barrel. Make sure our fingers are clean, and then we're going to give that a good coating of oil, like so. Make sure that's got a nice coating. Right. One thing to remember, make sure you put your rubber ring back in, because your engine will leak without it. I guess they don't sell them separately, and they don't come in the gasket kit either, so I should have a look one day to see where you can buy them from. I need to take measurements, but okay, we're not going to do it this time. So our barrel can go back on now. Everything's okay. Just need to make sure that it goes into our mud guards in the way. That's the problem. Okay, the mud guards in the way, and also these oil lines. But keep playing with it. We're going to put it at an angle. I should take that mud guard off really, but okay. Oh, come on, baby. Here we go. I'm going to slide it down till we get to the piston, and then I might have to change the angle for you. So we're just going to get the piston up to the bow. There is a taper at the bottom of the bow, so when you push the barrel on, there's a taper at the bottom, and it's supposed to like compress the rings and then push in. See them building engines, I see the video of them building the engines, and they just put the barrel on and basically tap it down with a mallet. But I don't think that's the right way to go, but there we are, that's our first ring in. Just make sure that the rings don't snag on the actual barrel when it's going down, because what will happen sometimes, your ring will catch on the bottom of the barrel and then it'll bend like down that way, and then you could snap the ring. So you got to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that looks like it's not too bad there, but it's not sliding. There we are. Okay, so I hope you got what you needed from that, because I'm not taking it back off. Anyway, there we are. So all we need to do now is we need to push our barrel down onto the piston. Make sure you put the chain into the tube. There we are, and we can push the barrel right down onto a seat. What is worth doing now is taking this flywheel cover off. You'll see the reason for that now. There's 3 bolts, one there, one there, one there. And voila! Ooh, it's full of mud. The reason we take the flywheel cover off is so that we can turn our piston to top dead center, like that. So if I show you where the piston is now, so we're going to turn the flywheel until our piston is as far up the bow as it's going to go. There we are. Okay, and then that means that it's at top dead center. Need to put so while that's there now, I'm going to put the chain runner back in there, only loosely. So we need the bolt for that. The bolt for that looks like this. It's a stepped bolt. It's got an aluminium washer to stop the oil from coming back up through the hole. So we do it in this at this point because it's easier to get that, because you've got to get that pin through the centre of there. So it can be a bit fiddly if you put it between the chain and like so. Like so. Okay, you can tighten that if you really want to. No, it's not going anywhere. Oh. So we're going to put our new head gasket on. So the hole is at the bottom for that oilway there. Just be careful, like I said, because these studs sometimes are not straight. Just want to be careful. Put our chain through the gap. There we are. Then we're going to push our head gasket over the pins and over those dowels. So that's our head gasket on. And then there's our head. I've actually cleaned the valves, cleaned inside the ports. I fitted new stem seals to both ports, both valves. Cleaned it all inside, so it's all good in there. So we're going to put the head on like so, making sure that our chain goes into there and doesn't get snagged up. You little devil. There we are. Okay, so then we're going to just push our head on, and there we are. Okay. Next thing, we put the end cap on. Just may need to play with the dowel, the studs again, engine studs, just to get into the hole. There we are. That's that on. Now we can put on our head nuts. So they do come with a washer to stop any leaking. So we're gonna just start them by hand. So now it's time to tighten our head nuts. Oh, hazelnuts. Just bring them down until they're snug. Like that. Then you want to just, in a diagonal fashion, just take it a little bit diagonal, do the top one there, do that bottom one, and then do this one. Then we're going to set our torque wrench to 12 Newton meters, it says on the spec. So we set our torque wrench to 12 Newton meters, and then make sure we tighten in. So I'm going to give it a quarter of a turn on each one. Until we reach the torque. I'm not just going to go straight to the torque, because you've got to tighten them down diagonally. So put it up there. Right, that's our torque reached on this one. So think we can be far off with the others. That one still needs a bit. There we are. That one's torque. That one's torque. This one's torqued. And this one's torqued. Okay, the practice is now is to torque the head bolts off. Torque them up, sorry. Then once we get the engine running, we are going to warm it up through the heat cycle, let it cool down, and then we're going to re-torque these nuts, just to make sure that they don't slacken off in a heat cycle. So okay, that's that. Next thing we need to do is we need to put our tunnel bolts in. The longer one is for the bottom, in there, and then this one in there. If you forget to put these bolts in, then you will have an oil leak through the tunnel. So don't lose them and put them back in. But you can feel it, just make sure they are. Click. Before we fit the cam sprocket, we've just made sure that the piston is at top dead center. The mark on the flywheel is pointing to that mark there, and I don't know if you can see the mark there, but there's a T there, and it lines up with that little notch in the casing. So that T on the flywheel there matches up with the notch on the casing, but we've also checked with the Allen key down the spark plug hole to make sure that it is actually at top dead center as well. So now we can put our cam sprocket back on, and there's a little dimple on the cam sprocket there, and while our flywheel and piston is at top dead center, that little dimple needs to line up with the notch there. So we have to get our cam sprocket in and wrap the chain around it, which can be a bit fiddly, but you can do it. So there we are, get our cam sprocket in. Okay, so now our little dimple should be lined up with the notch, then we can push it on and it should line up with the holes then in the cam underneath. So let's see where the holes in the cam underneath are. Right, okay. So there is where we want to be. Right, but I'm going to explain this because a lot of people ask me this. This now is the valve, the lobes on the actual camshaft. Yeah, that's right. Are pointing. One will be pointing this way. One will be pointing that way. The actual lobes themselves. You can't turn it round any further because then it'll be compressing the springs for the valves, and then that means then that the valves will go down and they could hit the piston. So you want the camshaft with the lobes pointing both of them down, so that means it's on your compression stroke. Okay, so then when we put this on in place now, those holes line up with the bolt holes. So your mark here must line up with the T and that little groove in the casing, and then you want your dimple to line up with this. Okay. Yeah, that's the way to do it. People ask, could it be 180 degrees out?
Could it be this, could it be that? If you do it like that, it doesn't matter because it's not 180 degrees out. It's correct. You're at top dead centre and your notch lines up with your point, and the cam lobes are both pressed. One is facing this way, one is facing this way. And that is how you should set it, okay? So now we can put our bolts in our cam sprocket like this. And once I'm going to put these in hand tight. And there's a reason for that. A minute is because I am going to, and the reason for me to only doing it hand tight is I'm just going to check again. So I'm going to put this Allen key down the spark plug hole again. I'm going to turn it till it's at top dead center, like that. I'm going to make sure that this line lines up, sorry, and I'm going to make sure that that spot lines up with that. Now I know that's right. That could be now because as I'm putting it in, I'm moving the chain and the flywheel might move. So once you've got it on, check it again, basically. What we can do now is we need to put something up the chain tensioner hole just to tension the chain a little bit and make sure that it's all still in line, which it is. And there we are. That's it, set, perfect. So now we just want to tighten up these two nuts. So we're just going to tighten these up. These actual bolts are into steel, but you don't want to. I mean, if you snap them off, you need a new cam, probably a new head. So don't over tighten things. They are only like M6. So what you can do with these ones is, once you get them nipped down, you can actually hold the flywheel and then nip them up. And there we are, that's tight enough. You don't want to go any tighter than that because you will snap them. Okay, so that's all done. I should be able now to turn the engine all the way over by hand on the flywheel, which I can. Shouldn't be in gear, I'm trying to move the bike. There we are, I can turn it all the way over by hand. Without it jamming, so that's good. This is a funny angle for you, but this is looking up from underneath the bike. This is the chain tensioner hole. This is the chain tensioner hole. So this rod with the rubber on the end goes up into the chain tensioner hole first, which pushes up onto the chain. There's not onto the actual chain. There's like a lever on it, so that goes in first. Then we're gonna get our spring. And we're going to push our spring up into the hole. There we are. And then we are going to put our nut on the our chain tensioner bolt on the bottom. Sits in the bottom. Try to get it all, push it all up into the hole, and then like so. Then we are going to tighten our bolt. This bolt has an aluminium washer on it to stop the oil leaking out. Make sure you put the washer back on, otherwise you will have an oil leak. Washer on it, so it's just a nip. Okay, now I'm just going to put the flywheel cover back on, but before I do that I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean out because it's full of mud. Next we're going to put our cam sprocket cover. I'm going to put that on, make sure it's nice and clean. Now we need to check the valve clearances on the inlet and outlet. So I don't know, you're trying to get the light on it so that you can zoom in. So the valve clearance is intake valve 0.1, millimeters. Exhaust valve 0.15 millimeters. Okay, so that's inlet 0.1, exhaust 0.15. This is out of the pit bike Haynes manual, which is actually very handy. It has all your torque settings, everything in here, so if in doubt, go and buy one. It has wiring diagrams in here and it has everything in here. I'm not getting any money off Haynes manuals, but there is a lot of information in there, so if you are going to work on them, then I suggest you go and buy one. They are good. I'm not going to show you how to do the inlet and outlet valves, valve clearance, because I've already did that in a previous video. So if you want to see how to check the valve clearances, then you can go back and watch one of my previous videos. Okay. All our bike now is all fully back together. I've put the exhaust on. Put the lines back in for the oil cooler. I've put the carburetor back on. I can't finish the bike at the moment. I'm waiting for new chain and sprockets for it, because the ones that were on there, you can see the sprocket is hooked over, and the chain is well past its sell by date, as you can see, and you can nearly curl it around in a circle sideways. So it, if you can see that side on, so the chain and the sprockets need changing. But what we're going to do, we can finish this video off by just making sure that the bike starts. Before we start it, we just need to make sure, check the oil. So when I check the oil, it just needs to be, that's the minimum, and then the maximum is the top of that little flat bit. So I'm just going to put it in and check, and it's about halfway up, which is okay. We're going to start it like that, because once we've started it, we'll warm it up and then we'll change the oil in it. So okay, there we are. Okay, there we are then. I've got it up on blocks at the moment, so try not to get it to fall off the blocks while we try and start it. It's a bit taller than it would be as well, so okay. Turn the petrol on. And let's see if it starts with this new piston. Oh, there we are. What you will find is the first time you try and start it after you've rebuilt it, you will have a little bit of it won't be as easy to kick, but once it starts, then hopefully it should just be okay. Knock the choke off. for the other side. Whee! This time, put the choke back on there. No, I don't like that choke. There we are, as you can see it's running now. There's a tiny bit of smoke, but that smoke is where we oil the piston and the barrel and everything, so that will die away now once we run it. So there we are, that's another bike fixed. So hopefully you like the video of us fixing this pit bike, changing the piston and other things that we've done to it. Leave me a note in the comments down below if there's something specifically you want to see me do. Like I said before, I got loads of projects to do. If you like the video, please hit the like button down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll be getting on with one of our other jobs in the near future. Thank you very much for watching.